Hello, this is Kade, and welcome to Stone Citizen for the week. And yes, for the first time in a while, it is an actual video. I managed to get OBS strangled into submission, so it is actually recording some gameplay, so that's amazing. The gameplay is just going to be running here in the background. This is a classic 890 jump mission. It's been a while since I been through it, so I was like, whatever, let's go after I did some bunkers. For this week, though, I wanted to talk about something different than ships, which is a bit of my usual topic, of course, in Star Citizen. And I want to talk a little bit more about, I think, what makes the game very much a interesting thing. And of course, with the upcoming 318, and we're starting to get more and more of these foundational aspects into play for the back end that actually allows Star Citizen to turn into a MMO versus what it is right now, which is more akin to like an MMORPG. It is, with the current player basis per server and how many people are going to be around, effectively speaking, you're looking more at like an experience a la Final Fantasy XIV, SWTOR, WoW, Guild Wars 2, etc. And what we're of course looking forward to is getting much larger numbers in there. Now, I don't think that it will ever run into like the EVE level of numbers, and of course that's simply due to what we are running here versus how EVE works, which is a completely different entity. However, it is very important that we are able, of course, to run with much larger groups than we are doing currently, because, well, the game is entirely designed around it, with the high degree of multi-crew ships being the main factor in deciding that this is going to be a game that you're going to want to play with, quite obviously, a fairly reasonably sized group. I mean, even this Redeemer that I'm flying here, I'm flying it solo right now, but technically speaking, the Redeemer is already a minimum of 3 people for this ship. I mean, you could do more, but effectively speaking, 3 will be fine. That is just one less than a Final Fantasy XIV party. Or if you have 2 Redeemers, that would be 1 more than a World of Warcraft party. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what you're talking with. Now, a Redeemer on its own is probably going to do fine for certain things, but when you're looking at the grander scale of things, like, you want to have more going around, and a great example of that, of course, is the well-known Aegis Hammerhead. As a escort gunship, corvette, the Hammerhead, of course, runs a crew of 8, effectively speaking. You have your pilot, your 6 gunners, and you will have an engineer. You're going to need that when that gameplay goes in to be introduced into that ship. That is 8 people. That makes 2 full Final Fantasy XIV parties, or almost a small World of Warcraft raid. Now, a single Hammerhead is going to do fine again for some things, but its main job, of course, is being an escort ship. And being an escort ship, it means that you need to escort something. Now, you're probably not going to be escorting a single ship, because either it is going to be very much overkill, or you're going to be lacking the coverage to protect a ship or a convoy effectively anyway. So you're probably looking at, a couple of hull series, a couple of hammerheads, a couple of fighters, and without too much time taken, you easily run into a group party size of just running a convoy operation that could be scaling up to multiple classic World of Warcraft raids. So, 100 people is really not that far-fetched. Of course, it may be a little bit much, maybe closer towards the 40, like a full raid size. But you start to see like how quickly these numbers are going to be adding up when you start looking at the more larger and also interesting operations you can do with Star Citizen. And these are, of course, also completely involved with the economy of the game, which is another completely different beast. The economy in Star Citizen is going to be something that is unlike anything that we have seen in any MMO. And I think that's one of the aspects that people still underestimate a lot, is that we are looking at a simulation of an economy that has not been done before. The Quanta system has been hailed by many, including myself, as the most amazing and critical system for Star Citizen. It is going to make this game completely stand out from the competition. It could look like horrendous shit. Like, this recording is probably not even the best quality. Like, it could look literally 10 times worse than this. And just the Quanta system alone would make this game stand out from any other game out there. And the main reason there being is that it is that simulated economy where we are as players an actual part of a larger economic system. And that is where the interesting bit comes from me when I look at Star Citizen. We're looking at becoming a part of a universe versus us being the universe. In EVE Online, the player base is pretty much the gods. Like, they are demigods by lore even. The Capsuleers are by many considered demigods. Like, they have wealth that is immeasurable, even the poorest of Capsuleers. I mean, for reference, a battleship in EVE, like, that has a crew on board, lore-wise, of like 1,000 people that are just following you. And like, we in EVE Online, like, we're blowing those things up for fun all the damn time. You are literally like the most evil rich bastard that is possible in the universe. And the entire economy is of course player driven in EVE Online, although I believe with the current Perfect World ownership that has somewhat changed. I'm not been keeping track of the game, but originally that was the whole point behind it. And even in the more, some of the MMOs that people more familiar with, like a Final Fantasy or a World of Warcraft, a very not insignificant portion of that economy is very much player driven and at least generated. Of course, there's stuff being generated by the system like we will have in any other place, but a lot of the economic interactions is purely the players deciding what something is worth. If you want to sell some crafting materials, it is the players that are buying it, and hence the players will decide the price. The price could be really high, that price could be really low, or really high. And that system is very classic, and it worked really well for quite a few of these games. There are of course examples where it completely broke because the developers didn't do a good job, like in SOTOR. It is a game in which I've made billions of credits, literally speaking, by doing the most simple, mundane things. Why? Because nobody else wanted to do it, and there was an insane amount of money in that economy, restricted to a relatively small number of people. And the origin in that money was quite often exploit, which of course broke that economy, but it was still, in the end, even if there's way too much money floating around, it is still the players that will decide what something is worth. In Star Citizen with a Quanta system, it is not the players that will decide what something is worth. The players, like by the original idea, was like make up like 10% of the entire system. And I think it probably will end up being even less so than 10%. So that means that our influence over the economy in Star Citizen is going to be really, really limited. And that makes a game that is suddenly a completely different animal. Because we're no longer trying to compete with other players. We are competing within a system. Now, make no mistakes, people will find ways, of course, to try and break things. And initially speaking, there will be lots of tweaks that need to be done. Because players will be players and they will try to abuse systems. It is in our nature, and it is very much a core idea behind MMOs. We are always looking at how can we obtain the most benefit out of the systems that are provided to us. But by us being part of this much larger system, we are going to be inhabiting the universe of Star Citizen versus being the ones that are creating the world of Star Citizen. And here comes the interesting part in that, because yes, on one hand, Star Citizen is really leaning into being this MMO. We are looking at or needing a large amount of players to do, quite a few of the activities. However, on the other hand, the system is built in such a way that you can just take part in what is already out there, be it player generated or be it from the NPCs generated. And it will work either way. So Star Citizen may very well become the first MMO that really works as a MMO experience, as a MMORPG experience, and also as a single player experience. Simply because we are no longer the ones that need to generate the content, or we are not, consuming the theme park level content very quickly. So a system like Quanta means that the content will be generated continuously. And that's a very important thing. You need continuous content in any MMO. However, not just the Quanta system can do it, we players can also still do it, because Star Citizen offers very much a lot of this sandbox style of gameplay, which we are of course familiar with from games like an EVE Online, where, if there's major content, it generally is player driven. We have everything in Star Citizen with that Quanta system, provided of course things work out as they should. It's just never a guarantee in Star Citizen, let's be honest. But the idea is there and the concept is there, and I'm very well certain that this is something that they realize as well, and that behind the scenes will probably be a lot more important than people right now want to give it credit to. Like, a lot of people, as I said, look at Quanta and they see it as being very important and they understand it's really cool. But when you think about it in a little bit more depth, you start to realize just how insane Quanta is going to be, and how it is really going to be that one system that changes Star Citizen from being a game to being an experience, to being a proper, simulation of a universe in a way that no other game can do right now, no other game has done. And above all, that when done well, means it's also going to be fun, fair and balanced for almost anybody. Because one of the issues that we had, of course, I said, with player-driven economies is that the players control everything. They decide what something is worth. And we see what happens if it goes wrong. EVE Online has many examples of it. SOTOR has many examples of it. But here in Star Citizen, the Quanta system will be this balancing factor. And it is a balancing factor that will have tweaking knobs for the developers to use. And tweaking knobs for developers to use is going to be the most important thing, because like I said, players will try to break every system that is being offered to them. It is just how it works. However, with this system, we can truly say, yep, we are going to stop that. We can tweak it on the fly, live, and we don't need to do anything else. It is amazing. It is going to be such a fun system to play around with. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that system going into full flight. When the tech behind the game's working, when the servers are able to talk to each other, meaning that different servers can handle different sorts of things. When all of that starts to sync in with each other, the meshing starts to happen, there is going to be a game here that is going to be unlike anything else. And I think the moment that is going to happen is also going to be the moment that I think you can pretty much consider the core of Star Citizen to be done as a game. Is it going to be the point where all the systems are going to be out there, everything, all the ships are made? Most likely not. Star Citizen will never launch as in like, I'm launching as a game with 100 systems. That's not what they're going to be doing. It is also not a very realistic goal with what they're trying to make. So that's not something you should expect. But what is going to be the main critical factor is when they get all those servers to mesh with each other and the Quanta system is operational in full force. When you have that, you have an experience that no other game on the market can match now, and likely also in the near future, because there's no other game out there that I'm at least aware of that is trying to do something like this. And the main reason for it is, of course, also what we're seeing here is just how insanely complicated it is. Make no mistake about the complication of this whole system. There's a reason why everything is taking a hell of a lot of time, and why we're sometimes kind of annoyed with it, because we'd like to have, of course, things in our hands that are there, immediately accessible, fun, great, yippee-ki-yay. It's just not the case, and that's the nature of this beast. but it will be a absolutely amazing system. And I think, you will really start to enjoy the Star Citizen experience once this system has come into full force. So it is the one thing I'm really looking forward to, and I really hope that we will, all see it, within relatively a short time span. And with a short time span, I still think we're talking here probably 2 to 3 years, safely. But I do think that they're getting closer, and we will see, like, once 3.18 of course is out there, it will tell us the most, and it will show us really what is going on. So yeah, that's it really for today. Just a little bit of why I am looking forward to things and what is, in my opinion, really important, and what we're going to be seeing, and that's going to make Star Citizen truly a unique experience versus just being a really shiny and good looking space sim, because it's going to be so much more. With that, thank you very much for watching. We'll see, of course, each other next week. I'll try to see if I can record some more gameplay, do it a little bit more properly. Like, probably need to get myself some editing software so I can just have higher quality B-roll in the background and balance audios and all that stuff. Like, right now I think the game is nearly silent. I'm very much sorry for that, but I'm trying. We'll try and improve, of course, as we continue onwards. And besides that, thank you for watching, and I hope you find it at least informative and interesting. And if there are any subjects that you like to do for me to go into a deep dive in around Star Citizen, by all means, just give me some suggestions down in the comment. There's a broad range of things in which I have interest besides just looking at shiny spaceships. But I do also really like shiny spaceships. What I do think about, by the way, considering doing some FPS here in the background, I may do a video on some of the weapons in Star Citizen. We'll have to wait and see, but maybe for next week. Time will tell. And yeah, for now, goodbye.